very long sort of title here, but essentially our job at Abacus is to combine data, technology and analytics to make you more money. As simple as that. That's what we're here to do. If we're not doing that, we're not doing our job, and you won't be lovely clients of ours. So we'll go into detail. Really going to concentrate on four main things. Quite simply, why are we doing this project? By combining online browser data and combining that with the offline database that we manage on your behalf to improve response and return investment. Why are we doing it? Secondly, what the progress so far is. We started this project at the beginning of the year, so I can give you a bit of a view on that. Thirdly, what do you actually get by getting involved in it? What do you get, and what are the benefits? What's the value? What's the insight? So we'll go into that. And finally, excitingly, being the data geek that I am, the results that are coming from it. So. Okay, so firstly, why are we doing it in the first place? Well, quite simply, you asked us to. Many of you have over the last 2-3 years. As we're talking about, we're going to hear a lot more about it today, as the world's changing and how understanding the online path to purchase, the online customer journey needs to be as efficient as it does in terms of the offline world. The challenge you set us is, well, how can Abacus help us deliver that in terms of the data that you see, in terms of the analytics you have at the capabilities you have? How can you do that for us? So again, this was something that came out of your ideas, not necessarily ours. The second thing, really, in terms of why we're doing it now, quite honestly, 2 or 3 years ago, we didn't have the technology, we didn't necessarily have the know-how to be able to put this together. It's quite a big thing. In theory, it sounds relatively straightforward. Yeah, we'll just take some browsing data from the same customer in the online environment, we'll match that offline, and then we'll make everything better. Well, it's quite a hard thing to do. So we felt, as I hope you realise, for those of you who've worked with us for hopefully some length of time, that if we do something, then we want to do it well. There's no point in trying to put together a product or a service that actually doesn't deliver, doesn't give you what you need, and it's pointless for everybody then. So we really are in a position now, and have been for the last year, 18 months, with our relationship with Conversant that Lara talked about, and Andy, who's here somewhere, is going to talk a lot more about later. That gives us and allows us to have the technology to actually do this at really an enterprise level. And the key thing to understand here, as Lara's mentioned before, Epsilon as a business, Conversant as a business, work with huge enterprise level businesses, certainly in the States. When we brought the business here, what it's meant, and where, to be honest, Abacus is really driven, is to bring that enterprise level technology to small and medium-sized businesses, and bring it to, most importantly, at a cost level that actually works for everyone. So that's been our challenge over the last sort of 18 months, and we feel we've delivered that. So I'll talk you through that. And finally, the last point, which again harks back to what I just said earlier. Quite honestly, there's no point in doing anything unless it gives you a return on investment. So we feel, and we know, this is doing this now, which is very exciting. So again, we'll go through that. So that's why we're doing it. Quite simple. Okay, so excitingly, the progress to date, which is what this is all about. So far, 78 of you, some of you in this room, others who have not been able to make it today, have agreed to take part in this. So what it means is that we've been putting tags on your websites using the Conversant technology. And with the 78, we're either in a live environment already, which is great, and that data, we're starting to capture that browser data, that's getting fed into the Abacus database, or we're about to go live. It's a relatively straightforward process. The one thing here to stress is that it's like anything, it's like the way that the cooperative works. Ultimately, our job is to run it and manage it and do all the things we can do to help, but it needs you guys to do what you need to do by updating it and doing some of the things that we need to happen. It's exactly the same with the tagging situation. We can set it up, but we need everybody to actually do their bit and tag the website and do some of the things we need. But the exciting thing there is that is going to build and build and build and build, and that browser data is being captured every day, is being fed into the database, and it can really add value back, and I'll show you how that's going to be done. So it's very exciting, and we're really quite far along that journey at the moment. Once the database the website's been tagged, on average, we can start feeding back data, the browser data, back to you within 6 months of that integration. It does depend sometimes on the size and the amount of traffic you've got on your website, but generally that 6 weeks is about right from when it goes live. And that's really exciting because this is capturing browser data, and these customers you don't know, they haven't logged into your website, you don't know who they are, you don't know who's browsing. This is being able to actually use that information. We can use the matching technology that Lara talked about, and I'll mention it again, to anonymize that match and then actually feed that back onto your own customer data. So you know which of your customers has been browsing your website without being logged in, and you can actually understand how that's starting to affect your campaigns and how it can affect your campaigns from an offline perspective. Predominantly what we're doing at the moment, and the benefits the early adopters are getting right now, is on their own customer data. So if you imagine the tags are on there, that browser data is coming back, being fed into the Conversant system. We're anonymizing, matching that. That's going into the Abacus offline database. We can match that browser data, and we're feeding that back to you, and I'll tell you how that works in a minute. And that's starting to, companies are being able to actually use that data right now to affect customer segmentation, which is incredibly exciting and really adds a lot of value onto the already good segmentation we can do. The second phase of it will be where it starts affecting your acquisition and the cold acquisition work we do for most of you in the room. We see that as that data starts getting fed in, obviously we need enough of it to actually start making decisions and creating variables in the database and for it to start affecting any sort of analytics. But we feel that from January next year, which, God, is what, 2 months or 2.5 months away, that will start to do that. And obviously into next year, that's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So really, really exciting. Lots of work going on behind the scenes. And, there was a lot of work done prior to this as well, a lot of paper testing, trying to understand the impact. Now that live data is getting fed in, that's even more exciting. And, our analysts are really looking at that data and seeing how best that can work for each individual company that are involved. This slide you see, Lara described it far better than I can. But essentially, this is what this product is based on. It's using the already very rich Abacus database, which you're all familiar with, which is the offline transactional data and everything that's updated there across all 500 brands that we deal with. It's then combining the Conversant technology now, again, enterprise level, proven technology, to link that data, link it across all the channels, link it across all the devices. So really, really getting that view of that person. What are they doing? How are they interacting with us? And how can we really use that information to get the best out of them in terms of that marketing message? We combine all of that using the agility, which is the key. That's the matching tool. That's proprietary. No other business has access to that. And then we're able to actually feed that data back. So very, very exciting, and using all of that information, building, if you like, a mini single customer view on every single one of your customers is very, very powerful and exciting work. So again, I'm copying Lara's slides, which made my presentation a lot easier to put together. Typically, this is what you get with Abacus at the moment. Lifestyle and demographic data from CACI, and the transactional data that you all contribute. Building that picture, the more we know about somebody, the more efficiently we can market to them. What we're doing with the browser data, there should be another one that comes up, there you go. We're adding We're effectively adding another layer of information. So all those layers of transactional data, lifestyle data, and so forth, the browser data now is adding an even thicker layer of information on there, so we can really, really start to make exciting selections on the customers, and also, like I said, going into next year on new customers for you to target. So in terms of what it's doing, first port of call is customer segmentation. That's happening right now. The early adopters, some of you adopted this and started working with us back in January, February time. Live tags went on in March. Those companies are starting to benefit right now from this, and it's really to look at, as a starting point, all of those lapsed customers. All of you in the room spend all your time trying to recruit customers, as we know, and the biggest pain is when they don't buy again, and what do we do with them, and how do we make decisions on how to mail them, to email them, or whatever it may be. Using the browser data, we can help you understand which of these lapsed customers is actually still browsing your site. You don't know that at the moment. We can do this with this product, and then make better qualified decisions about how you then engage with them. So it's about understanding how we can do that. We can use that combining our models, also combining the information you have. And importantly as well, is when you get a new customer on board, if we can see that they now come into your website a lot without logging in, and we know that they're browsing, then it gives you a great opportunity to cross-sell and upsell products that in maybe a more frequent manner than you could have before, and make it more relevant. So it's got huge applications, and again, I'm going to show you what that's doing at the moment. And really a better understanding, which was the whole point of doing this in the first place, a better understanding of how offline and online interact. How does an offline mailing interact with online browsing behaviour? The more we understand that, the more we understand how that one drives the other, the better. And this is doing that. It's linking that data using that technology. And going into next year, as we said, the acquisition solutions, the cold data, getting those new people, it's about boosting the performance. So we did a lot of paper testing before we started even developing this product, and we knew that in theory this could boost performance. We're actually seeing it now. That will help in terms of the control models you use and finding new pockets of data. And also we'll be able to build bespoke online browser models as well. That'll be something into next year. So there's lots of exciting things that will be coming up, which is great because we've always got to be innovating, but there's things that are happening right now. So for those of you already involved in this, brilliant. You're going to benefit. If you're not, then I suggest you maybe look at this. So what do you get back in practical terms? Well, firstly, most of you update us on a monthly basis. So that's even more important now, because what we'll be doing is we'll be feeding back that browser data on a monthly basis. And we'll be feeding it back to you in variables that are usable. And that's the key here. It's not saying, here's a load of browser data, and you crack on and work it out. We've worked out a number of variables, of which are listed there, which I won't read out verbatim, that we will feed back to you. Yes, our analysts we can help you understand how you can use that. But essentially, there's practical ways of using that data straight on the individual to make a decision on how you communicate with them. The data is provided at website level, like website visit level. Crucially, and that's why I've highlighted in blue, it's free of charge. Companies do charge if they can do this to feed that back. We don't. So I'd like to point out it's free. And it's very exciting. That not just free, this time free is giving you value back as well. And it can be used to enhance your offline selections as well as potentially some email campaigns you want to do. So very exciting and practical, and that's the key with this, practical way of using browser data for yourselves as well. So I've had to put a thing in here. This is quite exciting. This is hot off the press results we got literally end of last week. So it's new to us, and the timing's really good from our point of view. So these are results from the UK and the US, but the UK one is the newest one. So in terms of the updated results, so we work with a big men's fashion retailer who actually work within our 360 suite of products. So we do campaign selections for them and various insight products. And basically what's happened on the summer mailing 2016, which is quite a big mailing for these guys, we've looked at the browser data and how that's affected, how by using that's affected the mailing. Essentially, looking at it here, looking at people who are mailed of their active customers, so 0 to 12-month actives. Of those people mailed, of those who browsed in the 6 months prior to the mailing, the response rate was 180% higher than customers who hadn't browsed. Now, that's on the initial mailing, and that's on using really the initial set of data, initial set of browsing data that we're capturing. So you can imagine this is very early in the piece. So to get any uplift this early is really exciting. To get 180% uplift is incredibly exciting when the product's still in its very early stages. That will only get better as the database builds. We know that on offline, that is going to happen absolutely using the browser data. And even more exciting than that, which I mentioned before in terms of lapsed customers and the challenge that we all have there, on the 13 plus month customers that were mailed, which were lapsed customers who were selected, those who'd browsed in the 6 months prior gave a 500% uplift in response compared to those who hadn't. So give you an idea of what that meant in terms of response. The overall response for people who hadn't browsed was 2%. Those who had browsed was 10.2%. So even just on that initial data, those sort of multiples are incredibly exciting. The more data we feed in, the more everybody participates in this, the more members that use it, the more that's going to be even better. And then we can even reduce those browsing times down as well. We use the 6 month proxy because of the amount of data that we had available. That will come down. Looking at US, what's happening in America, obviously the huge benefit we have is that we have a sister company in the States who are working on this as well. So we have some help there. So they've been able to use 3 month data just because of the massive data that they have and the amount of members that they have, this 2,000 members of Abacus US. You can see here for a high-end home interiors retailer, for those who browsed the website 3 months prior to the mailing, there was a 350% uplift compared to those who didn't. So again, really exciting, and that's on their own customers. Looking at what's happened with recruitment, we haven't started that part yet because we need to build the data, as I said, but in terms of what's happening in the US and some of the results they've had there, looking at a high-end female retailer that we work with over there, when you look at the browsing activity across, now this is important across the category, so against the high-end female clothing category, for those customers or potential customers who browsed in the 3 months prior, there was an 18% uplift on the response rate to the cold mailing across those who didn't. And again, in home interiors, so each category is going to be different, and obviously we're going to learn that as we go along here. But in the high-end sort of home interiors category, a retailer there, again, in looking at people who they mailed from an acquisition point of view, who browsed 3 months prior, the response rate was 76% higher than those who didn't browse. So as you can see from results that are happening in the US, from hot off the press results that are happening right now with one of the members that we work with, and we've got lots of other analysis going on, and we're going to just farm that out as soon as we've got it. It's incredibly exciting, and to try and get that uplift in response when in a category and a channel, a media channel that's very well developed is very, very exciting. I challenge any other media category to be able to offer that. So my parting words on this are, if you're not involved, then I would suggest you have a conversation at the very least with myself, with Lara, with your account director, your account manager, whoever you deal with. It's a very, very, very simple process to go to. The process is easy. Andy's here from Conversant. I don't know where he is. He's here somewhere. Yeah, there he is at the back. So he's going to talk to you about Conversant, but he's very well versed in this as well. Really exciting stuff. Those initial results are great. We'd love all of you to be involved because you all come together on the offline database. This is the same thing. This is just tagging the website, that data getting fed into an offline environment to improve what we do for you already. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of insight. Hopefully that's got you excited, and I look forward to a lot of conversations later on. Okay, thank you.